time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock. It is time for episode 305 of the Ron and Brian podcast. But more importantly, this weekend marks the start of Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
It's our favorite time of the year, Brian.
Yep.
I'd like to ask you, because you're so many layers to you, so much depth behind those kind eyes. I'd like to hear what Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer
means to you, my friend.
I mean, first off, there's no way to truly encapsulate the sentiment into words. It's like trying to explain the color red to a blind person, or to explain the sound of lightning to a deaf person, or the feeling of heroin as it rushes through your veins. No, Hot Podcaster Summer. It is
Hot Podcaster Summer.
It is that slight window within the 365 days that we call a year, where everybody on this planet looks to podcasters to truly set the tone for what is the most enjoyable part of the year. That's Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
I don't think I could have said it any better, and that's why I turned it over to you, because you are a soothsayer. You have a way with words, and beautiful. I actually brought a little bit of a tear to my eye. So let's get things rolling with episode 305. It's Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
All right, Brian, what are you bringing to the table for this week's Drink of the Week?
I'm bringing coffee. This is, a lot of people sit there and they just assume always I'm going to be drinking a beer. Not necessarily. This week, and this week alone, I decided that what we were going to bring to the table is coffee. We're drinking La Colombe. This is a medium brew. I believe it was Blue was the name of it. Not really sure. I realized in hindsight, I should not have bought the 5-pound bag. What I should have done really was waited on myself to go with the dark roast. Instead, I went medium roast, regretted it. However, that's not enough, because what am I putting in my coffee? That's right, Bailey's Irish Cream, the original, not the imitation one. This is the OG Bailey's. Here we go, in my coffee. I also, just because I knew that I was going to be drinking, I got my pot of coffee.
The whole pot. So is it a pot or is it a carafe?
Jesus Christ, Ron, do you always have to be right? I brought the carafe in. You are right, by the way. I have to acknowledge. So I'm drinking coffee. How about yourself?
So I, surprisingly enough, Brian, you may hear a little bit of raspiness in my voice, a little dry throat action going on, and we'll talk about that more in Beef of the Week. But I, too, brought a cup of coffee to the table. Not just coffee, Brian. We support local. We shop small. I understand, you like the conglomerate of La Colombe because it is based out of Philadelphia, and they are friends of the podcast. Right. But this is, I often say the only good thing that's ever come out of New Jersey is my wife. But I will say this is a close second. Aww. This is the Ocean City Coffee Company. This is their Bali Blue Moon organic coffee. It is an organically grown bean from Bali in Indonesia. It's a smooth chocolate start accompanied by a soft caramel flavor and a creamy, smooth walnut finish.
Walk me through this.
It's a damn good cup of coffee. I will
Okay.
say, though, I hear all these descriptions about coffees where it's supposed to have chocolate, caramels, walnut. I never get any of that. I just get the coffee flavor.
Agreed.
But it
Nice.
is it is very good. I realized, so I guess this could have been a previous beef. It's not my beef this week, but we used to get the Costco brand coffee beans because they were Starbucks
Sure.
brand, but it was
Yeah,
just
I remember.
with the Kirkland label on. So
I
the
did the
last
same.
time I bought the coffee at Costco, didn't even really look at the bag because it looked the same as it always had. Got it home, and then when we start using it, I'm like, this coffee isn't as good anymore. And I pulled the bag out, and I noticed the Starbucks label is off of the Kirkland brand. So they must be having somebody else brew their coffee. Not as good.
Mhm.
So I went with the good folks at Ocean City Coffee Company in Ocean City, New Jersey. And got
Shop
some
local. Shop local.
I got what did I get? I got a little bit of their Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, and then I got the Bali Blue Moon. They sent a little sample of Riptide, also another very good coffee. That's what I like about them. They always throw some extra samples in there for free,
Mhm.
just to be like,
Mhm.
hey, next time you order, maybe you want to try this one. So one more sip.
There you go. There you go. There you go. We're both drinking coffee this week, people, and it's amazing.
Listen, it's a holiday weekend. A lot of people will overindulge. A lot of people will try and do too much. Don't set limits. Stay within limits. Whether it's drinking, whether it's gambling, whether it's heroin, set limits. Stay within them, and just be safe out there for this holiday weekend. In the meantime, it's time for Beef for the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's
Yes.
bothering you this week? Because you seemed very
Okay.
agitated before we came on the
I
air,
am.
and you said it's tied to your beef of the week. So I'm very curious to hear what's going on.
I'm going to share with you a photo, and I want you to tell me if you can guess what my beef of the week is. Here we go. Bringing to the table as
Ooh. So that's for those of you just listening to the audio, which you really should join us on YouTube,
you got.
Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, whatever it is. It is a pizza, and it looks like a pizza that was cooked, allowed to cool, reheated, and then just some raw red onion haphazardly tossed across the top of it.
Don't forget, also sausage was also just haphazardly spewed on top of it, not cooked into the cheese whatsoever.
I see the sausage.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a half of a pizza that was delivered to me yesterday by Original Presto's Pizza in New Jersey. You are my beef of the week, Original Prestos. So the lady and I sat there and decided, we were going to take the night off in terms of cooking. And we decided, you know what, let's order a pizza. One of the things that I have been frustrated with since I moved to this ivory tower on the Hudson is the quality of delivery pizza in this area. I understand moving outside of New York, I was going to, escape the homeless. I knew I was going to escape the street crime, the rampant immigration, the rampant lax enforcement of the law by the woke politicians in New York City. I knew that I was going to gain something, but I would also lose something. I understood
there were
that
trade-offs
pizza,
you were understanding were going to happen.
Understandable. But pizza that this is the fourth place we've had delivered to us. And yesterday I paid $43 for this pizza pie.
I'm sorry, what?
They 43. Okay, so it's a $20 pie. Then they charge you $6 for sausage and $6 for onion. I paid $6 for chopped. Yes. I didn't want to make this a money thing because I know you like to call me a cheap Jew and you work the Jew angle as much as possible. I did not want to make it a money thing, but it absolutely part. They charged me $6. So you can spend $3 where they only put it on half the pie, but for them to spread, you have to get the whole. So it was $6 per topping.
I mean, the $6 for the sausage is almost reasonable. Almost reasonable.
And I'm almost going to say this:
$6 for what equates to like a quarter of a red onion. That's criminal.
Yes.
That legit. Yes. Now I'm upset for you. I was a little bit upset previously, and even Janelle said it's a sad excuse for a pizza.
Oh, it's.
I'm more upset hearing that they charge you $6 for less than a handful of red onion.
The thing is this: where I live, there's no pizzeria within walking distance. That's the problem. So I have to order from delivery, or I have to go out to the pizzeria and eat it there. So I'm looking for a good excuse. This is how bad the experiences we've had in this apartment is that I was delivered an ultimatum after the dining experience last night. I was offered that I've got one more shot. I've got one more shot to deliver a quality pizza home delivery before Mrs. Bryan decides that we are now ordering from Pizza Hut. That's
and the exact thought in my mind is, in looking at this pizza, you would have gotten a better pizza from Domino's. And that's the sad thing. Like a Domino's pie would have at least been, you would have had the same level of disappointment, but it would have been a fresher pie and probably less expensive.
I mean, the outrage of clearly, and keep in mind, you can tell by just looking at the area where there's no sausage. This pizza had been cooked, had been reheated, and had already settled again. The crust was dried out. It wasn't even the fact that it was overcooked. It wasn't overcooked. It was just dried. They like just threw this on top.
We'll get pizza from our local place, Luigi's, who is usually pretty good. I mean, there are times that we will get a bad pizza from them, like it's not cooked quite enough. The toppings are askew, but at least we can tell that pizza was our pizza that they made for us. This is a pizza that they must have just like cooked, not delivered to somebody, and then just said, "Oh, we don't need to waste this. We can just throw sausage and onion on it and serve it to this, this man. Oh, he's at that ivory tower in West New York. We're going to fuck that guy over."
Oh, it was so, it literally ruined my night. It ruined my night worse than trailing 5 of your parlays.
And yesterday, it was a rough day. That could be my beef of the week. So many parlays missed yesterday by one leg, by one goal, by one run. Joey Gallo doesn't have an RBI for the month of May until we decide to bet that he's not going to have an RBI yesterday.
It's okay. It is okay, Ron. We're not attacking you for your lack of gambling analysis. Ron, what is your beef of the week?
So my beef of the week, and it's been a week, Brian. It's been such a week. But the biggest thing this past week would definitely be the air quality for the last 3 or 4 days. Beautiful weather out. Listen, can't complain about the weather that we have had this week. It is beautiful. It is sunny. It is warm. But unfortunately, for those of us with hay fever and allergies and things of that, when you have a wet spring like we've been having, and then all of a sudden you get hit with hot weather, the air quality goes to shit. There is so much pollen and crap. Like I had my car washed last week. It is caked in yellow pollen again. You can hear it in my voice, I assume. Like the last few days have just been dry throat, stuffiness, scratchiness, and just, the allergy medicine touches it a little bit, makes it a little tolerable, but it's tough to breathe at times, like literally just tough to breathe. I got to that point yesterday where, you go to bed and your nose is so stuffed up that all you can do is breathe through your mouth, which then of course just dries your throat out even worse than it already is. Janelle gets it. She's been coughing from all the pollen too. So I'm going to try not to cough into the microphone too much this week. And that's why, I'm drinking coffee from the fine folks at Ocean City Coffee Company. And if you want to send me free coffee, Ocean City, because I keep mentioning it, please feel free.
Have you reached out to their social media people?
I have not. I may give them a shout after this show because it really is. It was I got my mom Ocean City coffee one time, and it became her favorite company of
No
coffee. So
way.
we would always send her coffee from Ocean City. That was a woman who loved her coffee. If you want to know how I got my love of coffee, my mom, again, like myself, could drink coffee at any time of the day, like right before going to bed. No issues falling asleep. Like it's how you do it.
I feel like I've hit that point in my life. That's where I genuinely am sitting there. And if you offered me a cup of coffee at whatever time, I'd be like, yeah, bring it over. I'll have a cup. I'll have a cup.
Like it's become a thing as we sit. I've become my mother in that way. As we sit at night and we watch TV in the evening, I will brew a cup of coffee and I will sit there. I'll have a nice cup of coffee with my evening stories.
Here's the question. Do you do decaf in the evening or you just do regular?
Just do regular.
Yeah.
Just do regular. And it doesn't seem, again, if I have a cup of coffee around 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's usually not a big issue. But speaking of TV, that leads us into a very obvious question, Brian, and that is, what are you watching?
What am I watching? So this weekend, I knocked out all 6 episodes of Netflix's Tires, starring comedian du jour, right?
You had it. Yeah.
Okay. Shane Gillis. It is the story of a crew of employees that are working at an automotive repair store where the manager has over-ordered a shit ton of tires. And they are, trying to figure out ways that they can sell these tires to make money. 6 episodes coming from a comedian who is, he really is, one of the hottest comedians around right now. Still on his rise up, and I feel like this will kind of put a damper on his ability to continue that rise. Woefully disappointing. It feels as if they are running a slow burn. Unfortunately, they only have 6 30-minute episodes to tell a story. Having watched all 6, I can't tell you what they were trying to accomplish here. There is no story arc, as in, hey, here is, let's introduce you to the characters. Here is the dilemma that, they face. Here is them accomplishing, and overcoming that hurdle. And here is the wrap up of a story. This literally just feels like you are dropping into people's lives and then somehow supposed to be interested. Not very good storytelling in this case.
I watched episode 1, and I will say, it wasn't, I was thinking maybe I need to watch more episodes because episode 1 had its funny moments, but overall, I think wasn't overly entertaining. I think it's a case of if you have seen the funny parts in the previews, you've seen the funny parts in the show. Like I wanted like a workaholics type show, which is kind of the vibe it was giving off in the previews, but it just kind of misses. And I think the one character who is the son of the owner of the car shop just doesn't carry the show. Like if that's supposedly one of your main characters, it's not funny.
Sure.
It's a great lineup of comedians in the show,
sure.
But it just goes to show you that like it's very difficult to write a funny show for 6 or 8 episodes. And just, I think it was a case of, hey, to your point, like Shane Gillis is hot right now. Let's just have a show where he's just being Shane Gillis, but in this character, and see if we can make something out of it.
He co-wrote this.
Right.
So you would imagine that for him to sit there and say, hey, listen, I'm putting my name on this. You would imagine that there would have been some quality control attached to it.
Right.
It was not.
You would think.
I'm also watching a TV show on Netflix called The Gentleman, which is I don't know if you want to say a spin-off of the movie The Gentleman that came out, I believe, a year ago. This is from the brain of Guy Ritchie. Tells the story of a Earl, I believe, if I've got my British royalty and titles. His father passes away. The son takes over all of the family assets and the manor, the estate, whatnot, to find out that his father has been housing one of the largest marijuana growing operations in all of England. And he gets sucked into the English underworld, drug dealers, whatnot. It's entertaining. It's not great television, but you know me. I'm an Anglophile. Anything with that accent gets me going, so I will watch that show.
We had started to watch it. I think we still have a couple episodes to go. To your point, it's watchable. I think the only issue I had with it fell into kind of that same issue we had with Mandalorian, where each episode is like, all right, well, you've got the main story, but here's your little story you have to complete this episode to, and then it kind of gets away from it. But I thought it was good, and that was always my question. I couldn't tell. It almost feels like a prequel of that movie, The Gentleman, or it's based on the same. I mean, obviously the stories are tied because it's a very similar. But is that main character supposed to then go on to become Matthew McConaughey's character in the movie? I don't believe so.
But I'm also, because wasn't McConaughey an American? I will be brutally honest here, people, because I don't lie. I tried watching the movie The Gentleman, also on Netflix, with Hugh Grant, the guy from Sons of Anarchy, was in
Charlie
it.
Hunnam.
Sure. I got completely confused as to who was what, because it's the story of two guys who are sitting in a room telling each other a story, and then the acting out of that story. I couldn't tell who they were talking about, who was who. And 20 minutes into it, I realized I had absorbed absolutely none of it. And we gave up. But the TV show I've connected with. So I've already knocked out, I think, the first 3 episodes. Going to keep going.
You know what's funny about that movie for me, The Gentleman, is I'll see clips of it on TikTok of certain scenes, and I'll be like,
really?
Oh yeah, that, because Colin Farrell's in it. He plays the boxing coach. Like if you look at individual clips, like you'll be like, oh wow, this really looks like a good movie. And to your point, I sit down and I start to watch it, and I'm like, you have to get through a lot of setup, I think, to get. I guess.
Yeah. It's a lot of fluff. Ron, what are you watching?
Speaking of fluff, I haven't watched a lot this week, although there is a ton coming out on Netflix the next week that I'm excited about. There's like a TikTok dancing cult show coming on, a docuseries. Yeah.
A TikTok dancing cult?
So apparently the premise of this docuseries is that, I mean, you know how like TikTok dances, were all the rage, like, a couple of years ago, that apparently it was about this influencer who got connected with this production company that I guess helped coordinate all of these, TikTok dance influencers. And before she knew it, she's actually in a cult now. What? So I'm like, all right, you got me. Any good cult docuseries, you got me. I'm going to go watch that.
The question is, Ron, was she doing the work?
Listen, anybody wants to come dance on the Ron and Brian podcast and do the work. The work is so important. But we did watch. We watched the new movie, The Fall Guy, with Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. Obviously, a spin on the 80s TV show of the same name. Ryan Gosling playing Colt Seavers, the stuntman in question. My wife loved this movie. It was watchable. I would say this.
Listen, she's a gossaholic. You know that.
Yeah.
She loves her Ryan Gosling. We know this.
I will tell you one thing. Is if I were to have one gripe with the movie. All right, so I will ask you a question, because you are our senior cinematic reporter here on the Ron and Brian podcast. If someone were to tell you we're going to do a Fall Guy movie, it's going to be a comedy, it's going to be very tongue in cheek, but there's going to be action, there's going to be drama in it as well. What do you think a proper length of that movie should be that the director should have shot for? Like, what do you think is
I'm
a
going
tolerable length of time?
100 minutes.
Exactly.
Should not be anything
90
more than
minutes,
that.
100 minutes,
Yeah.
2 hours and 7 minutes.
No,
So, and
no, no,
again,
no, no.
it was good at times. There was a lot of fluff, and then there were fight scenes that were just like, I think this is an offshoot of the success of the John Wick series, is that now every movie, when they have a fight scene, feels that it needs to be just like completely over the top. And it's like,
Right.
this is a comedy. Like, you can just have a simple fight scene and the good guy beats up the bad
Yeah.
guy and wins. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, oh, the bad guy comes back again. Oh, the good guy comes back again. Oh, again, I called it watchable. My wife said she lost herself in Ryan Gosling's eyes. Very cool
Can't blame her.
post credit scene with Lee Majors, and someone that initially we were like, who the hell is that? She's got blonde hair and the face is somewhat recognizable.
Heather Locklear? How's she
Holy
look?
Jesus. I don't even know how to describe it. The amount of work that this woman has done. And you know what I should have done? Let me see if I can pull up a screenshot of her.
You know what movie? You're looking that up. I will say this. Do you know what movie I thought over the last few years, and maybe it's more than just a few, but a movie that I thought really set the bar for that style of movie. I thought Starsky and Hutch with Ben Stiller and one of the Wilson brothers, Luke or Owen, couldn't tell you. I thought that movie was exactly where it was supposed to be. It knew exactly what it was doing. It laughed at itself in ways, but it also paid homage. They worked some of the old characters into it. Like you said, it wasn't too long, but it absolutely had its own story, start to finish. Everything was addressed. It had enough humor. It had enough action. There wasn't some 17-minute long fight scene. There wasn't a 23-minute chase scene. It was light fare, but it was a very entertaining light fare. I thought Starsky and Hutch did a very good job.
Yes. And Janelle is correct. It wasn't Heather Locklear in the show. It was Heather Thomas. I got my Heathers confused. But this is Heather Thomas. Unrecognizable, again, from the amount of plastic surgery she's had over the years in the show. Like Lee Majors, I'm sure Lee has had his work done. He's done the work. But you could at least say, this is Lee Majors. Heather Thomas was just like, all right.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even remember what Heather Thomas looked like. I was never a big Fall Guy fan. Now I remember what she looked like. Okay, yes. You had a poster of hers. I remember you telling me that you used to have a poster of hers on your bedroom wall when you were growing up as a child.
Did I? I'll keep that in mind. I'll remember that from my youth. But other than that, I really wasn't watching too much. Just enjoying this beautiful holiday weekend weather, Brian.
Which is the start to what? The start to what time?
Oh, you know what time it is. It's the start of Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
So what have you? You know, asked me. You said you implied before we did the show that you were out late drinking last night. What was the?
Not late, because when my lady's out drinking, it's never a late night. But we stopped over to a local restaurant, hung out with the extended Jardy clan, the four of them, had a little dinner, some drinks, watched a band until my wife had a few drinks and announced to the table, I gotta go home. And so we piled into an Uber. Well, not piled. The two of us got in the Uber.
Sure.
She put her window all the way down, and I'm like, oh, that's not a good sign. I'm like, please, like, it's like a 10-minute drive to the house. Please don't throw up in this man's Uber. And just kind of, she did this head motion on the ride home. You know, just tucking the chin in, and then occasionally. So yeah. She had a good time. Listen, she needed to let off some steam.
Sure, of course.
It was great seeing the Jardys. We took the train to the restaurant for the first time, which we've been meaning to do because our train goes up a couple towns. So it's like a 5-minute train ride. And literally this restaurant we went to, the train lets off right in their parking lot.
You rode the SEPTA?
I rode the SEPTA for free because it's such a short ride.
They don't hit you for a ticket.
Guy doesn't even bother walking to try and take tickets.
Well, here's the question, Ron, because I've gotten trashed for taking the train over here on my light rail here on the Bergen Hudson County line. Did you buy a ticket, or did you know in advance? Hey, let's try and get away with having to pay the fare. Did you activate the ticket on your phone?
Here's the thing, because of SEPTA is not in the 21st century yet. You are not able to buy single ride tickets on your phone. You can buy a monthly pass. Yeah, you can buy a monthly pass on your phone. And at our station, since it's such a small station, there's not a ticket office. There's no ticket machines. All you're able to do is just scan your monthly pass, get on the train, and then you scan it wherever you end up. So all we're able to do is we have to buy tickets on the train. And so where we get
from
on,
the conductor,
you got to buy it from the whoever's on the train. So, and because again, it's a 5-minute ride, there's 2 stops. So, it was actually a very packed train. So this guy, one guy working, he's got 2 minutes in between each stop. He can't walk and listen, half the time I take the train down into the city, they don't even bother charging me for a ticket because they just don't give a shit, which is fine by me. I don't have an issue with that.
They're just happy that you're not passed out on the on that trank that is so popular in Kensington.
The only time it's an issue is if you get off in the city at Jefferson Station or Suburban Station. You can't exit without a ticket, so you have to buy an exit ticket when you get there. But like up here, we don't have turnstiles and everything else. You hop on, 5 minutes later we hop off. Boom, we're right there.
Sounds good. Sounds very good. Sounds like a very pleasant evening. What are your plans for the rest of this weekend?
I probably will do a little bit of grilling tomorrow. I got some Nathan's hot dogs. Maybe we do that for lunch. Maybe put a steak on the grill. We'll see. What about you? What are you and the lady going to be up to?
Lady and I are going out to Queens later today. We're going to our favorite hot pot restaurant.
Oh, that's good stuff. You've taken us there.
You will expect some photos of me sweaty. Last time I was there, I put a healthy teaspoon of the Thai chili inside of the sauce that I was making, and it was the spiciest thing I've ever had. I literally had to stop eating at one point and remind myself that I was going to survive. Trying to talk her into going to a Mets game this afternoon. It's at 1:40. I believe she's never been to the new Citi Field, so I'm going to try and see if I can talk her into going there. If not, we're just do what we can. And then tomorrow, I was hoping to use the pool that is connected to my apartment building here in my ivory tower on the Hudson. But unfortunately, the weather appears to not be.
Looks like Monday is going to be the bad day.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm okay. You know why? Because on Friday, I got out of work early. I got out of work around 3:00. Home. I took the train home. Or did I take the bus? No. I took the train home. Took the train home, got home. Lady had already finished. And I said to her, you know what? I said, we're going to the pool. What do we do? Change into our swim trunks. Water was way too cold. Found a couple chairs, sat there, enjoyed my water. She decided to go back up to the apartment at one point, made me a Jack and Coke.
Oh, nice.
I did have to, jump in the water just because, the pool was open. Water was very cold, by the way.
I can imagine. I mean, this time of year, you want to go in the pool, but clearly it's going to be a little chilly.
Yeah. So I have already used the pool once. We'll see where we go tomorrow. We'll just enjoy the day. It's Memorial Day weekend, people, the beginning of Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
Say Matt's got to stay on top of that without question. Now, I would like to just share something, and I hope you don't mind me sharing,
Of
because
course.
we share everything with our. You did send us a photo of yourself from the pool side.
I did. And how? Yes.
And there are, and we shared this at the table last night, and I think the
Why?
comments. I think people were wondering why you have such a disturbing amount of thigh hair. I think the below the knee, like I think that's kind of expected, but it's a lot of thigh hair going on, and there was some dry heaving at the table, but I think it was both the paleness of the skin and the amount of upper thigh hair were two big topics.
Listen, when the Casa de Ron pool gets opened up later on this summer, you will be able to experience that in person. I can't help it. I'm hairy from the chest down, the chests, nips, thighs, back,
head, neck, and breast.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah,
Brian, we're
you don't have
rambling
hair
away
in your
here.
thighs?
Not. I mean, I'm not very hairy
Really?
to begin with.
I am.
That's
I
awesome.
am.
Brian looks like a glass of milk.
Rudeness.
Very true.
Rudeness.
Allie saying that she loves that I call it Center City the city. I mean, sometimes it's Center City. Sometimes maybe I go to the airport. You don't know. SEPTA usually charges by zones. I'm not sure if that factors in. Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe I was traveling within a zone. It's a very good point. So, Brian, we need to make sure.
I think Allie's upset. I think Allie's just upset that you claim Philadelphia. However, as you tell your stories, it is very clear that you don't actually see yourself as Philadelphia because you're traveling to the city, which automatically implies that you don't wake up in the city.
Well, I don't. I mean, I acknowledge the fact that I live near Philadelphia, but not in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like, if I were to have moved to like some sort of nonsensical town like West Philadelphia, PA, I mean, maybe I could say, yeah, I wake up in Philadelphia.
No, it would have to be in a different state. West
Philadelphia, New Jersey. West Philadelphia. I live in West Philadelphia, Delaware. I may have to go start that city just so I can move there. Build a complex on the river. On the Delaware.
That's really not fair. That's not fair at all.
Fair enough. Hey, before we run too long, we've got to get to our stories of the week, Brian. As our longtime fans of all 305 episodes know, we like to grab a couple stories and make sure we get to them because we tend to go off on tangents every now and then. So, Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
My story is it is the story of prison culture. And one of the various TikTok algorithms that I have seen to have grasped onto and clung onto for dear life is prison culture. I love watching me a video of somebody who has spent time in prison or claims that they have done so, talking about what life is like in prison, how they stay out of trouble, why do people knock on a table before they get up and walk away, what are the unwritten rules within prison that allows people to kind of cohabitate within this pressure cooker environment. And one of the things that people do spend a lot of time talking about is this unwritten code of people taking out vengeance on other types of prisoners, where the crimes that these people committed in the outside world is considered so grievous. Is that the word? Grievous?
That's good. Yeah.
It's considered so atrocious, like pedophilia. Like, supposedly if you are a pedophile convicted and you are in prison, if you get put into Gen Pop, by the way, I'm sorry for those people not on prison talk.
He's using the prison lingo.
Gen Pop is general population, but it is considered the responsibility of your cellmate to beat the shit out of you. It's not considered, just, somebody within like, your unit that you're staying in or whatnot. No, if, people in the unit, if they find what your charges are, they will confront your cellmate and say, we are providing you this information. You're responsible for beating the shit out of this person. Like, there are so many unwritten rules. Fascinating.
Sure.
This week, a real world example of what I just described. Serial killer Robert Pickton. If you have see, to me, that's a face that a mother could love. That is Robert Pickton. He's a Canadian serial killer who lured over 24 female victims to his pig farm. Well, he was recently viciously attacked in prison, according to prison officials, and he is clinging to a life. He was in a segregated intervention unit, so he was not even in Gen Pop, at the maximum security Port Cartier institution when he was speared in the head with a broken broom handle last week. He is currently in critical condition and, according to the prison officials, not expected to survive. Mr. Pinkton, as many of those people who are just fascinated with serial killers, he was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder, sentenced to life in prison with the maximum parole ineligibility of 25 years. He was charged with the murders of over 21 women. Investigators found DNA from 33 different people on his pig farm, and allegedly he bragged to undercover police he had killed as many as 49 women. Rumors swirled upon his arrest that he had been basically, if you're sensitive, cover your ears for the next 5 seconds. He had been cutting up these women's bodies and feeding them to his pigs on his farm. Apparently, this is too much for prison culture because he was not meant to survive. Put in segregated community and still attacked. Robert Pinkton, you have spent too much time on this planet. You do not deserve to live, and we hope you die shortly. Boom.
All right.
That's my story of the week. Ron.
Yes.
What's your story of the week?
So this week, a new small study has found that human testicles contain microplastics and nanoplastics at levels 3 times higher than animal testes and human placentas. These microplastics are, of course, a result of all of the what's the word I'm looking for? Pollution that we have as humans have created, throwing away plastics into forests and lakes and whatever, and it ends up in the ecosystem, and we end up ingesting it into our bodies. This study tested 23 preserved testes from cadavers who were aged 16 to 88 at the time of their deaths, and then compared the levels of 12 different types of plastics in those testicles with plastics found in 47 dog testes. Yes.
How do we know that the microplastics are bad for us? Do we know that? Has there been enough scientific studies to show that the microplastics are bad? Like, could this be the next step towards evolution where we as humans evolve into a stronger animal?
Sure. Understood. Well, I will say 2 things about that. Number one, we're not 100% sure. And the reason why we're not 100% sure is that, scientists attempted to do a study as to how microplastics would affect the human body. However, they were, each time they tried to do the study, unable to find a control group. They were unable to find a large enough portion of the population with a low enough amount of microplastics already in their system to be able to tell the difference. That is how pervasive this is. Like, we literally cannot test it at this point.
But is that necessarily bad?
So what they are saying is that these microplastics can, they can interrupt cellular processes. It has, resulted in reduced sperm counts in some areas, reductions of up to 50% of normal sperm counts. It may have an impact on developing fetuses in the womb because it impacts, oxygen and nutrition going to a developing fetus, so it could lead to more birth defects, lower birth rates. And the scarier thing is that this number continues to double at a rate of every 10 to 15 years. So if it's already at these levels now, what is this going to look like 30 years from now? And what, how will this impact, birth rates? How will this impact the health system? If you have people getting sicker because of these microplastics, if you have newborns that are, have multiple health issues because of it, how is this going to happen? How is this going to impact the human race?
Okay, that's fair.
Now, it does appear that as you get older, the human body can eliminate these plastics, but again, they have a tough time testing any of these hypotheses because, there's just no one on the planet really. Well, I shouldn't say no one, but the people that they're able to check with, they can't tell the difference.
So are you telling me that they're testing the testes?
I am telling you that, yes. That's your contribution.
What else do we have, Ron? That's all I got. I saved that for about 25 seconds before I had to spit that out. I was so proud. So proud.
All right.
So proud.
Normally we pick on Texas, and we pick on Florida, and we pick on New Jersey a lot. But let's go to the state of Ohio, where we have a couple of stories to share this week. This first one, it is trying to see how the best way to talk about what this story is. I mean, it is about an Ohio sex worker who had sex with more than 200 clients, knowing she was HIV positive. This is Linda Lasesi, age 30. And if you're watching on video and seeing this mugshot, I will let that sink in that this woman is 30. She had contact with
Time out.
Yes.
You're telling me that woman is 30?
I am saying that, yes. And she had contact with at least 211 clients from multiple states in the 2 years since January 1st, 2022, which is around when she took an HIV test and learned that she was positive. Lasesi solicited most of those clients on Market Street in Marietta, but possibly infected people across the East Coast. Washington County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Mark Warden said in a press conference, quote, "This case could stem anywhere from Florida up the East Coast, but there are local individuals that will be reaching out to." Police have been calling known clients of Lasesi to alert them of the situation, but also letting people know if they recognize her and have had intimate contact with her, to be brutally honest with officials, because it is time they need to get themselves checked. And if they have spouses, significant others, they need to have them checked as well.
This woman looks to be 50. For those people, and listen, if you are listening to the audio version of this, I'm going to say you are getting, I'm going to say 70% of the entertainment that we are bringing to the table. The video portion of this show is so strong. First off, who is going to a prostitute now that is unaware that there may be sexually transmitted diseases that they are opening themselves and putting themselves at risk for? Especially if that, and I will take the hit if you're going to come after me on this one, especially if the prostitute that you are engaging with looks like that.
Well, I think, I think it's maybe it's a value proposition if she's charging low rates, maybe in a pinch, that's, her customer base is like, it's like subscribing to a $4.99 a month OnlyFans versus a $24.99 a month OnlyFans.
All right. See, now you're speaking my kind of language. Now I understand. When you phrase it that way, the synapses start to click and it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Okay. All right. I get it.
All right. Staying in Ohio for this next story. Ohio mother whose 4-year-old diabetic daughter passed away due to the diet that her mother was feeding her, was sentenced on Friday to at least 9 years in prison for the girl's death. Tamara Banks pled guilty to manslaughter in March for the death of her daughter, Carmody Hogue. who died in 2022 of a diabetes-related brain injury. Banks, age 41, often gave the girl bottles of baby formula mixed with Mountain Dew, according to prosecutors, long after she should have been weaned off of bottles. Carmody died at Cincinnati Children's Hospital as a result of diabetic ketoacidosis.
How old was the girl again?
She was 4. So obviously
And
she
this
shouldn't have
woman
been
is
being fed. Correct. She shouldn't
and
have been
this
fed
woman
from a
is
bottle.
only getting 9 years.
She apparently is only getting 9 years. Carmody suffered neglect and abuse for most of her short life and was denied nutrition and medical care. There was no evidence she had ever been taken to a dentist, and the girl's teeth had all rotted away by the time of her death. An absolutely horrible story. In addition, Banks had a son who fell into a coma at 4 years old as a result of undiagnosed diabetes, which the judge said should have taught her about the dangers of diabetes before her daughter's tragic death.
Can I just say, and I hope I'm not going out on a limb here, that I hope that she gets speared with a broken broom handle and dies while in prison. Prison population, do your work. This woman, what is her name again? Whatever it is, I don't even want to know it. First off, she can't even fucking walk. Is that like what is? Why is she in a wheelchair?
That I don't know.
You know what? She deserves to be immediately killed and not live a day longer.
So the maximum she faces is 13 and a half years in prison. I think it's a case of, she probably could have been charged with murder, but I think the prosecution probably gave a plea deal to ensure that she was going to do prison time. And Carmody's father, Christopher Hobe, also pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter, and he will be sentenced next month.
Oh my God, that's tragic. That is just absolutely depressingly tragic.
It is. Also tragic. Child workers found at a poultry company's kill floor again, despite a teenager dying at that plant last year. Brian, you were delving deep into this story. Talk to us about it.
Listen, the meat industry in America has, for many years, looked down and looked poorly upon labor laws. It is just an open acknowledgement that America, the slaughterhouses, the poultries, they absolutely have been ignoring Department of Labor regulations. It feels like whenever the federal government wants to round up some illegal immigrants, they raid a slaughterhouse in the middle of the country, Nebraska, whatnot, and suddenly they are arresting some, hundreds of people who are working under false paperwork, and then somehow, the slaughterhouse takes a $100,000 fine, apologizes, right, and then gets arrested. And then they do a raid, a year later, and they arrest the same number of people. The working conditions in slaughterhouses are atrocious. We continue to eat meat. Ron still brags about how he's got Nathan's hot dogs in his refrigerator. He's going to throw on the grill, maybe a steak, but he never sits there and asks the question of what underage child was used in the slaughterhouse to help butcher this animal and clean up the slaughter remains. Never asked that question, just brags about how he has a grill in his backyard. However, once again, the federal government went after Mar Jack Poultry, where a 16-year-old boy was killed last year. A 16-year-old boy was killed at work while working in a poultry company kill floor. And again, during a federal raid, the company was accused of violating federal labor laws by alleging that teenagers were being used in their Alabama factory to debone poultry and cut carcasses on its kill floor, which is a violation of federal labor laws. The Department of Labor found that they found children younger than 18 working on the kill floor, hanging live chickens on hooks for slaughter and cutting meat from the carcasses, which is prohibited hazardous occupation for minors. It is just a known reality that this is how you get your meat for free. Last year, a 16-year-old sanitation worker at the Marjack facility was killed after they fell into a piece of heavy equipment. That's all the article has to say. For all those people, absolutely, Ali, preach on, sister. I absolutely agree with you. Meat is murder. Those people who are going to eat animals understand just the price that society and the world is paying so that you can enjoy your animal meat. Ron, defend yourself.
I guess my only question to you would be, are you going to a plant-based only hot pot later today?
I'm sorry, you cut out there. I was waiting for you to ask that question.
So, listen, as we've talked about previously, we've tried to cut down on meat, and it's actually at our local Giant, they actually do slap pictures of the child workers that are preparing your meat, so you can kind of connect with little Bobby. Little Bobby doesn't have a left hand anymore, but with that right hand, he's making sure you're getting the finest cut of pork that you can in this package, and it's touching. And then that stupid Marty robot comes by and bumps into you because I don't know. I hate that damn robot. Anyway, before we go too long here, we do have a ton of stories in one of our more popular segments called "But the Drag Queens Are the Problem." We don't ever want to just drive a bit into the ground, but clearly one of these days. We are going to come across a string of drag queens that are the problem, preying on children. So I think this must be the week, Brian. I think so. We haven't had much success. This has to be the week. Let me see this one. Oh, no, this is a former Major League Baseball player. Not surprisingly, a former Boston Red Sox player, because people from Boston are trash. He was arrested in Jacksonville after he was allegedly caught trying to meet a minor for sex. According to Sheriff T.K. Waters in Jacksonville, Monday, Waters announced the arrest of 27 men in an undercover anti-child predator sting called Operation Valiant Nights. The sheriff said, quote, "These adults solicited sexual activity and committed to engaging in sex acts with purported minors at prearranged locations." Among the arrests was former Red Sox pitcher, 33-year-old Jacksonville native Austin Maddox. Video released by the sheriff's office showed Maddox exiting a red truck as he approached a home. However, instead of a minor, a group of deputies greeted Maddox by tackling him to the ground. So he has been charged with traveling to meet after using a computer to seduce, solicit, or lure a child, solicitation of a child via computer to engage in sexual conduct, unlawful use of two-way communication device, and production/promote performance, which includes sexual performance by a child. Man, they have had to come up with so many laws to go after sexual predators, but good. So he played for the Red Sox from 2017 to 2019 and officially retired from professional baseball in 2020. And obviously, seems like it's been going downhill since then.
Not surprised that this is behavior coming from a Red Sox player.
I mean, you hate to see it, but again, it's not. You look at the sports teams in the Boston area. They don't compare to the New York. They can't complete a simple 4-leg parlay to help pay out. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Next up.
However, they certainly didn't cover. They didn't cover last night against the Indiana Pacers, where I thankfully had bet the Pacers to cover the point spread. But it was a good game. I watched the last couple of minutes of it.
I went to bed a little early, and I thought the Pacers.
I know you stopped responding. You stopped responding to my text. So that's how I knew you had gone to sleep.
So next up, is this a drag queen? No, this is an Arkansas teacher. Her students once surprised her on Good Morning America, but she has been sentenced to 13 years in prison for having sex with a 17-year-old student up to 30 times. Heather Hare, age 33, married, mother of two, ordered last week to serve 13 years, along with 20 years to be served concurrently. She taught home economics at Bryant High School, where she met the victim during his senior year and gave him her phone number, Instagram, and Snapchat. The once beloved teacher made headlines in 2020 when she was surprised on Good Morning America by her students saying goodbye after her class was canceled during the pandemic. The victim told police he met Hare on the first day of his senior year in the fall of 2021. Hare then began one-on-one counseling sessions with the minor victim, giving him her personal phone number and privately communicating through Instagram and Snapchat. At one point, she allegedly told the victim that she had a dream of them having sex, and she then engaged in sexual activities with the victim between 20 and 30 times during the 2021-22 school year in several locations, including her home, her car, classroom, and the high school's parking lots. The victim,
it's always the parking lot.
They also engaged in sexual activity during an April 22 school trip to Washington, D.C. that she was chaperoning. So she pled guilty to 2 charges of sexual assault in the first degree, both related to the sexual activity. The judge also sentenced Hare to a lifetime of supervised release.
Yeah. Maybe we should call this bit "The Teachers Are the Problem," because it seems week in, week out, the teachers are the problem.
They're up there. They are most definitely up there. We've got a third story here. Maybe this one is the one that we've been searching for, that needle in a haystack. No, this is actually, it's another teacher as well, Brian. So this is, let me find the name here.
That is a heavily filtered photo.
This
I'm going to say.
Sandy Carrazes Pinez, a teacher at Biondi High School. It is a taxpayer-funded boarding school for autistic, mentally ill, and emotionally disturbed students. Classroom cameras captured her. She was a biology teacher, sexually abusing a boy, but no one at the school monitors these videos. Only after the student told his mom that he had sex repeatedly with her did the principal watch the video. It showed the instructor cuddling with the 16-year-old during class and asking him to, quote, rub her crotch.
That's awful.
So she has been charged in Manhattan federal court with luring the teen into a sexual relationship and convincing him to appear with her on an X-rated live stream video call. For 3 years, allegedly, the Department of Education paid Biondi for the boys' tuition, room and board, psychological treatment, and 24-hour supervision. It's just a horrible litany of failures here. The teacher allegedly sent the boy nude photographs of herself and lewd text messages, including one saying she was, quote, sore after he gave her a workout. When the youth tried to stop the sexual activity, the suit says, Carrazes Pinez threatened to fail him in class or kill herself, which traumatized the teen, a schizophrenic who had attempted suicide previously.
If you were a high school student and banging your teacher and realizing, I don't want to bang this woman anymore, and she said, if you stop banging me, I'm going to kill myself, would you really continue to bang her so that she would stay alive? Or would you just say, go for it, lady?
Well, again, I mean, she is preying on someone, this is a school full of kids that are suffering from mental illnesses. So I think in a way and especially if he has had a suicide, if he's had a suicide attempt in the past, I mean, she's clearly manipulating. She's clearly manipulating the youth.
Evil. That is just evil. So disappointing.
One more story. Is this a drag queen? Nope. Another teacher. This is actually a former city prosecutor turned religious school teacher. has been charged with raping a 13-year-old girl. This is Daniel Haynes, age 39, an ex-Bronx in Brooklyn assistant DA who taught at Mount Carmel Holy Rosary in East Harlem. He is also accused of taking cell phone videos of their sexual content and exchanging multiple photos and videos of a sexual nature via email with her. The alleged abuse took place on multiple occasions between April of 2022 and April of 2023, when the victim was in 7th and 8th grades. He was arrested on May 17th, and the complaint alleges one act of forcible rape against a desk. Mount Carmel principal has sent an email to parents trying to see if there were any other children who have any incidents with this teacher as well.
Jesus Christ.
Now, one Mount Carmel parent did tell the press that she had complained about Hayes, her child's 6th and 7th grade teacher. She said, quote, "I thought he was terrible, but the principal either ignored me or told me he cares about the kids. Then he left the school, but he would always pop up. It's just weird."
Ugh. Fucking A, man. People are fucked. People are genuinely fucked. Not everybody, but enough people are fucked in this world. Really depressing.
We've got time for one more story, Brian. I'll let you pick what you feel.
No, Ron, you're the champ. You pick.
I got the belt back there. I got the fan art back there. We do love our fans. I hope people realize that. This is the tragic story. But we'll close with this. Going out to Colorado, where a youngster faces up to 60 years in prison for killing an innocent family of 5 by setting fire to the wrong home in a revenge plot over his stolen iPhone. This is Kevin Bowie, now age 20. He pleaded guilty last week to igniting the late-night blaze in a Denver neighborhood in August 2020 after using the Find My iPhone app to track his stolen phone to the general area. Bowie, who was 16 years old at the time, was portrayed by prosecutors as the ringleader of 3 friends who plotted the blaze that incinerated the Senegalese family that lived in the house, including 2 baby girls. The Diol family, which was 2 parents, a 22-year-old daughter, the relative, and her 6-month-old daughter, all killed in the blaze. 3 other people broke bones while escaping by jumping from the 2nd floor of the home in the middle of the night.
Was the phone in the house?
It was not. It was, apparently it was somewhere nearby. Again, Find My phone is, can get you into a general area. It does not really say why they felt this home is where the phone was at. But Bowie ended up pleading guilty to 2 counts of 2nd-degree murder in a plea deal that proposes a sentence of up to 60 years in prison, 30 years for each count. 60 other charges Bowie had faced, including 1st-degree murder, attempted murder, arson, and burglary, were dropped by prosecutors under the deal.
Yeah. If he suffers from that lack of impulse control, that, his response to, hey, I think my phone is here, is to, well, I'm going to burn this house down.
Right.
Then you know what? I'm not upset that he's being taken out of the general population. See the way I worked in Gen Pop again, Ron? It's called it's a
callback.
Prison talk. It's called prison talk.
It's a callback is what it is.
Here you go. Full circle.
All right.
Can we sneak one more story in, Ron?
One more
Can
quick
we do
one.
One more.
This past week saw the passing of Morgan Spurlock, who became famous with his documentary Supersize Me, where he ate McDonald's food for a month. Was it 30 straight?
I remember this guy. Yeah, I remember this guy.
Passed away this week at the age of 53 due to complications from cancer.
I remember that documentary. I thought it was great. I know that everybody. I remember his career really took off. I remember a lot of people giving him a hard time.
Right.
I remember there was a backlash. But I just think anything. I give him. I give him credit for trying to bring some attention to just how unhealthy fast food is.
Right. Well,
Did
he
he
did some other
change the
stuff too. He had,
world? No.
no,
Yeah, but nobody cared
he
what
had
he did.
some,
Nobody cared what else he did.
yeah. Well, that was kind of the sad thing is like he had a number of other shows and movies that he did, but everything always just seemed to come back around to Super Size Me.
Yeah, that's what well, now we know what's written on his epitaph is supersize me. Supersize my death.
Oh boy. And lastly, also in the news today, Grayson Murray, 2-time PGA Tour winner, passing away at the age of 30. Cause of death still unknown. He had pulled out of the Charles Schwab Challenge on Friday during the second round due to illness. Although a few people have commented that he had struggled with mental health issues. So people are wondering if that is exactly why the cause of death has not been revealed yet. But regardless, 30 years old, way too young to be passing away.
Do we know if he was vaccinated or not? Could that have played a part? Do we know?
Listen,
if
maybe that's why
Pfizer?
It's being kept quiet. Maybe he had the jab, and maybe it's it's big pharma keeping that information quiet right now.
Because I would not put it past the folks over at Pfizer or Johnson and Johnson that if he had been vaccinated, they wouldn't want that information out there.
No, clearly. But what we can't keep quiet about any longer is our Patreon. We will be doing After Dark in just 19 short minutes. It is an amazing perk for our Patreon subscribers. If you have not joined yet, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner, and you can become a Patreon subscriber. As simple as that.
There you go. Listen, and not only, not just are you supporting the show, we do an hour every week, free entertainment. We're already on 70 minutes this week. Free entertainment available for anybody with an internet connection and access to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, X. But it is so right off the bat, it is a way for you to say to us, hey, thank you for the entertainment. How can I support you? It is also a way for us to provide you with even more entertainment. Every week we do something called After Dark, minimum of 30 minutes of additional entertainment where we feature stories that don't belong outside the paywall. It needs to be hidden behind. For as little as $5 a month, you can sign up. You get audio. You get the audio file every week of that After Dark. For as little as $10 a month, literally the price of 2 cups of coffee a month, you get live video streams where you can watch us record this just like people. If you're watching right now, you see the value over the audio, as little as $10. Then there are higher tiers where you get swag. You get live shout outs from Ron himself while he is eating his child procured meat products off of his backyard grill during Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
That's my favorite.
All right, everybody. Thank you
Absolutely.
for joining us. It's been a great night. Be well, be healthy. Most importantly, take the remainder of this holiday weekend to enjoy the start of Hot Podcaster Summer.
Hot Podcaster Summer.
We will see you again next week. Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.